Imric is undoubtedly the pinnacle of high elven power. Here, his star dragon glitters in the moonlight. The exact opposite of him is the lowly Tretch, a meme lord who you might have forgotten about because he came as free LC quite some time ago, and to be honest, is entirely forgettable in almost every single aspect. But that never stops an enterprising memer like Sladex, the legend, here taking Tretch against the High Elves and Imric. Let's see what else he's got here in this night battle. He's got a Plague Priest, 2 Rat Ogres, including Mutant Rat Ogre, Morskatar's Hellion, and actually Gorich. We've got some Wolf Rats with Poison that are going to definitely avoid that Breath Attack. Imric's trying to get a quick Terror Charge, I think, there. Storm Vermin, some Plague Monks in the back, some more Wolf Rats with Poison, and that's pretty much it. So, very odd Skaven build, but certainly we'll be relying on Tretch, which is never a position you want to be in, but we've also got some Rangers here for the High Elves. A couple of White Lion Infantry should provide some nice AP. Lothern Sea Guards, plenty of them as well, and some Illyrian Reavers getting a nice charge should decisively defeat these Wolf Rats, given their much better leadership and charge bonus. Although they still will take some losses to the Wolf Rats, of course. But the mainline fight getting underway. The armor of the Storm Vermin will largely protect them against the Rangers, certainly. Looks like we're going to see a Plague Vortex here. The name of the spell, of course, is simply Plague, but this giant ethereal Plague Monk appears and takes a dump all over these High Elven infantry, which is going to deal a significant amount of damage to them. Meanwhile, Tretch is simply standing here. Imric pulling off another breath attack there at the Morskatar's Hellion right now. Slade is just kind of hanging back. I mean, he's somewhat hanging back with this monster, at least trying to block these Illyrian Reavers. Let's see, Gorich also in here trying to get a terror route on those Rangers. But as soon as Imric lands, he's going to start to punish that Morskatar's Hellion. Lord of Dragons popped on him to significantly debuff his melee stats, and you can see the damage already incoming. But here comes Tretch to the rescue with his anti-large damage. 25, adding to his melee attack and weapon strength. 94 melee defense, also with standard die active, is actually pretty insane. And that's the main thing about Tretch, is he's kind of falls into that infantry tank archetype of lords, similar to somebody like Sigvald or Morgr. He doesn't have any regeneration effects, but what he does have is that charge defense and extremely high melee defense. Some other kind of survivability attributes as well. This stay here, all get help, gives him stock and unspottable if he needs to flee. Of course, Verminous Valor can also bail him out of trouble as well. Lucky Skullhelm gives him 40% damage resistance if he is losing melee, which is very strong, obviously. And then Tretch's Raiders, if units nearby are winning, they get a little bit of a damage and melee attack buff as well. So all those things combined to make Tretch surprisingly tough and durable. Let's see right now. He's going to have to fight it out with a blob of these Rangers, while Morskatar's Hellion once again tangles with Imric. We take a nice wide view once again on the battlefield. The Clan Rat summons are helping to kind of pad out the numbers here a little bit. The Storm Vermin are actually trading decently. Storm Vermin, I believe, got a straight-up buff in the most recent patch. I would have to double-check to see what exactly it was, but the numbers of the rats obviously can be heavily augmented by the Clan Rat summons, and just in general, the Storm Vermin, very survivable. Better leadership than other Skaven units, but still relatively few in numbers, so Skaven are going to have to keep their terror routes going, which Gorich so far has been able to do. But let's keep it close here in on Tretch as he continues to fight. Stand Imric so far really hasn't tried to go after Tretch directly, but this Morskatar's Hellion, every time it's getting a hit on the Life Mage here, it's increasing her cooldowns by +10, so essentially that will delay the amount of healing that will be done by the Life Mage here, and potentially mean that Imric will be a little bit more exposed. But obviously 1v1 with the Lord of Dragons against Morskatar's no problem for him to win that fight fairly decisively. Slade is winning in other parts of the battlefield, though, and it's actually pretty important for the High Elves not to have Imric nearby. I should say it's important for the Skaven to try and keep Imric away from the rest of the High Elves, simply so that they can't properly fight with support. Getting a little tongue-tied here. Anyway, the Plague Priest has taken quite a bit of damage, though. I'm not sure how much Winds of Magic he has left in the tank, but wants to maybe try and get some more summons, if at all possible. But Gorich also kind of trolling out in the background, a little bit exposed and out of position. Hopefully won't be punished too hard for it. But these 3 single entities for Slade, as they kind of spread out, they're going to get more and more vulnerable. But Morskatar's Hellion there gets catapulted away from Imric, just going for an absolute ride. While Tretch continues to try and fight, shore up his Storm Vermin. Fortunately, they are going to flee into the night, or at least attempt to. They're largely boxed in by cavalry and infantry right now, so they're having a hard time actually escaping, but Tretch himself will continue fighting. And Morskatar's Hellion also surprisingly did not get killed by Imric, which means that now him and Gorich can potentially form up and fight together. But Imric probably, honestly, should come try and snipe Tretch at this point. I mean, he's going to be pretty survivable. Like I said, it'll be tough overall to kill. But, I mean, he right now is the best chance since Tretch is, you know, not near these other 2 monstrous single entities who can definitely support him well. But with the opportunity swiftly fading, Gorich and Morskatars try and close the distance, go to the assistance of their lord. Just kidding, no. They're going to go 2v1 on Imric, which is definitely the right call. There's no threat to Tretch pretty much whatsoever in that blob. He can grind there for a long, long time, so much better off to go 2v1 with these 2 hulking, huge mutant rat ogres. One certainly more mutant than the other, but with Imric escaping back up in the air, they can now try and swiftly move away. Plague Priest comes back. Looks like he is going to get another swift plague rat, or clan rat summon rather, before he flees. And a quick rear charge from Gorich sends a lot of these High Elves who had been blobbed up around Tretch into a terror rout. Plague Priest also is able to cast another plague here, which is, again, going to absolutely bunker bless this blob and allow Gorich to terror rout away a lot. These High Elves, the Mutant Rat Ogre also formed up by now, so it's looking fairly solid for the Skaven. They've got some more Storm Vermin coming back. These Clan Rats are in combat. Imric decided to come finish off the Plague Priest very wisely. Not before he was able to do some fairly decisive damage, though, in breaking that massive pocket of High Elves. And fairly solid. Tretch now formed up with his lads. Charge on in. Just have a grand old time against these Lothern Sea Guard. I love the fact that he just, like, carries a claw in one hand. It's like, it's my claw, but it's another claw. It's like if, you know, there was a human legendary lord that ran around with a giant wooden hand on the end of his stick and just slapped people with it. Come to think of it, I actually think that would be a great idea for, like, a legendary character, like a meme legendary character at some point. But anyway. Oh, yeah, we see some of Gorich's beautiful attack animations there. Imric lands in the distance. Again, just trying to pick off whatever targets, but ultimately just delaying the inevitable. So we will fast forward as these Skaven single entities just grind through. Eventually, Morskatar's Hellion does actually get routed by the anti-large of Lothern Sea Guards. But, of course, Gorich and Tretch will continue fighting. 2v1, let's see. Will they be enough to actually defeat Imric? Tretch takes a huge charge initially. He has Lord of Dragons active on him. But even with that, his melee defense is still at 46. Lucky Skullhelm procs gives him that 40% damage resistance. You know, while it's active here, should just refresh. Yeah, we'll actually keep an eye on that. But as long as he's losing combat, it should refresh. He's not losing combat, though. Instead, he actually just beats Imric with Gorich. So there you go. Big thanks to Slade for sending that one to me. Unfortunately, he had sent me a huge grip of meme replays from the last patch that I did not get to cast, unfortunately, and I do feel bad about that because some of them were legitimately awesome games, but this one I know is one that he has been playing around with Tretch recently. I've seen him post some games of Tretch getting like upwards of 2,000 value. In this game, Tretch mostly just tanks, which is really the role I think he's best intended for Skaven. Ultimately, the other 2 single entities, or 3 single entities rather, including the caster, carry very heavily here. Storm Vermin are mostly just glorified armored meat shields, which is kind of great, to be honest. And yeah, the rest of the build is what it is. For the High Elves side, not too much really to talk about. It's a bit of an odd build to be caught out by and something maybe that they didn't expect, but Imric, despite his single entity killing power, will definitely get dragged down by superior numbers of single entities, especially ones that are still fairly strong like Gorich, or Tretch, for that matter. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.